I also think it's important to applaud where we've been. At the beginning of the pandemic, we saw a skyrocket in crime. All across the country, what we're seeing now, according to the FBI, is a decrease in crime.
Americans in general are very out of touch with crime statistics, with what makes crime worse, with what alleviates crime. In general, Americans right now feel like crime is higher than it has ever been. And while that feeling is valid and people are afraid, that's not what the numbers are showing us. So why are Americans so out of touch with crime? Well, it could be people like Gutfeld on Fox News advocating for a tough-on-crime-only stance in this country, which is proven to never work. It has never worked. But what does work is what you're about to hear.
Right, violent crime has decreased 8% nationwide. Property crime has decreased 6.3% in Chicago. Fatal shootings have decreased 16%. Homicides have decreased 13%.
It ran out of victims.
In St. Louis and Baltimore, we've seen fewer murders. We've seen the fewest murders in the past decade. Detroit has had the least amount of murders since 1966. These are good things, and we should applaud that. And now it's on what can we do to make sure that people aren't stealing from the Walgreens and stealing from the CVS. But it's important to applaud the policies that are working to decrease many of these crimes that are already happening. And in Chicago, what you're seeing is there's peace agreements between gangs. You're seeing access to more resources in communities of color where we're seeing high levels of crime to decrease folks getting into crime to begin with. And all of those things are steps in the right direction.
What are the policies that are working? Are you talking about more policing?
No, well, in some places, what you're seeing in Chicago, they're opening 24-hour rec centers, so young people have someplace to go instead of going to violent crime. You're also seeing them creating more resources in schools, right? So you can talk to a guidance counselor, you could talk to a social worker about what's happening in your home instead of having to resort to a gang.
Is it more policing? Turns out the answer is no. Oh, God, no, I know, we're all shocked. More policing and tough on crime is proven to not work. What does work, and what has been working, is providing resources for people to make their lives better, to make their lives easier, like he mentioned in that clip. But since the Republican side tends to run on tough on crime policies and talking points, that's not really something Fox News likes to have on their show, which has been shown time and time again.
A big disconnect with how people are feeling and the actual stats on the ground. So the FBI today released their data for the third quarter of 2023. So they compare it to this time last year. And no one would deny, of course, that there was a surge during the COVID period. But violent crime is down 8%. Property crime is down 6.3%. It's at its lowest level since 1961. And I've been talking about the drop in the murder rates, not in Washington, D.C. That is an outlier. But in all these other major cities, like New York, where we are, in Chicago, in Los Angeles. And it's not getting any traction, that story. And I understand that crime is a what you feel problem. And it's definitely a what you read problem. Gallup has 77% of Americans, and this is across Democrats, Republicans, and independents, think that crime is going up. But you look at that FBI data and you think, how is this disconnect, the chasm, this large?
Well, Dana, isn't that a lot like saying, well, inflation is going down?
It's the same issue.
Right.
Well, right. So, you could look at statistics and say, well, the stock market's up. Like, and there's more job openings than ever. Like, why do these people feel so bad?
You know, you're cherry picking again, Jessica.
No.
If you look at the NYPD statistics for here in Manhattan from 2019 to 2023, every single element of crime is up. Every single one.
No.
If you compare it to 19, it was just in the New York Post. What, are you going to call your other colleague a liar again? Now, you also have to trust your gut. When I go out now, I take my wedding band off. I put it in my pocket.
Crime is not down. That's like saying inflation is down when it's
go talk to the FBI.
It's not as expensive as it was.
No,
Here are the numbers, statistically showing that crime is down. No, it's not. It's not, because we aren't allowed to believe that, so it's not. But it makes sense that Republicans are the ones that think crime is the highest, because in the red states is where crime is the highest, which ironically is where those tough on crime policies are most likely to be implemented.
In 2019, there were about 16,000 murders in America. In 2020, there were more than 20,000. It's a 25% increase in 1 year. At the same time, the prison population has decreased by about 14%. It's safe to say that there's a surge in crime, especially violent crime and murder across America.
Republicans love to blame crime on Democrats and liberal policies. But here's the thing. Among the 10 states with the highest murder rates in 2020, 8 You see them on the map. 8 voted for Trump. That's according to a new report by the centrist group Third Way.
Historically, we have seen time and time again that tough on crime and more policing does not lead to a decrease in crime. It actually can lead to an increase in crime, especially violent crime. So don't be fear-mongered into believing that we need more policing and that that's going to help. Crime does feel scary and people do feel like it's up, and that is valid. But just understand that the numbers on a whole are down, and that when you provide resources for people in communities, especially places where there's more likely to be crime, the crime will go down. People need resources, not punishment. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out some of my content that isn't news related, you can check out my personal YouTube channel at Bad Gamer Wyatt. And until then, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.